Well, hey, good evening to you. How the heck is everybody? It is good to see you. It's good to be seen by you. Welcome to Thursday evening. I hope you're doing all right. I want to just mention something real quick here because I think this is important. There has been some weirdness going on with comments on the videos. Now, obviously, I don't have thousands and thousands of subs. I am very, very, very thankful for the subs that I do have. This isn't a comment about subscriptions, but I will point out that some of your comments are disappearing. Mark CMG pinged me today and said he had left a fairly detailed response to a comment that I made last night and that it had vanished. That's not me. If it is even remotely on topic, even if you say that you vehemently disagree with what I've said or how I'm doing things or what have you, I leave it. I'll leave it alone. Someone made a comment in a video a few months ago and said, I'm unsubbing from your channel. You're completely wrong about this. You know, you don't know what you're talking about. And I left it there. You know, that's people's opinions. I will delete spam, which funny now that there's been a limitation of a certain Eastern European / Asian countries access to the internet. I'm not really seeing any of. I wonder if there's a cause and effect thing going on. But that's about all I'll delete. I am not touching your comments. Now, there's another thing that has happened. It's not really pertinent to you guys per se, but I think I puzzled out what's going on. A few months ago, I did a Let's Play Twilight 2000. We did character creation. And then later we did a tank battle on the table here. I had miniatures out. That got flagged. YouTube flagged that for limited / no monetization. And I've turned on monetization for every single thing that I have. I think the problem is the cover illustration for Twilight 2000 has 3 American soldiers. All of them have firearms. Now, my odds of actually getting to a person, even though I can contact YouTube support now that I'm monetized with the capital M, are diminishingly small, but I've got to find out what the case is, because as I recall in that video, it was just the same propeller head nerd stuff that we talk about. The important thing, though, is that I don't delete your comments. I make sure that they are not set to require screening on my part. Regarding Mark's post he made today, I got a YouTube notification. The little bell in the upper right was red, and I was like, oh, what's going on? Mark CMG said the following, and it shows you a preview of like 3 sentences of a post. As he was telling me, I made a comment and I don't see it. I got a notification that he made it and it showed me part of it. Nowhere in my studio is there control or anything for me to review it, look at it, and despite YouTube telling me it was in there, as far as like the comments are concerned, it simply didn't exist. It's very strange and it's very disturbing to me. You have me on the Discord. You have me in live chats every night. If your posts are disappearing, and you really need to get something over to me, please say so. Please say so. And I will do my best to troubleshoot it and investigate it, particularly if it was something well thought out. Until I get to the bottom of it, if you've got like a page that you want to whack onto comments or something like that, send it to me, bsylvie@gmail.com, or drop it to me on the Discord, and I'll find some way to share it. Maybe we'll do like a viewer mail night or something. Kyle and I will. But I just wanted to let you guys know that. So it ain't me. I promise. I'm not out there deleting things. I don't feel like I need to be that moderated around these parts. So, Cheshire Cat, you make a very relevant point. YouTube has always been interesting. I was saying this just the other night. One of my new favorite YouTubers, Call Me Chatto, I made a very salient point on his channel. Gone. He never saw it. He never saw it. I left the tab open where I made the comment and I could see it. And when I refreshed the page, it was gone. Here, I'll put that. Hang on a second. Praxis. That's where you guys can get me. Surprisingly enough, it's not the Dungeon Delver at gmail.com. It's bsylvia at gmail.com. Yeah, you can kill stuff with magic all day on YouTube, but show a soldier with a gun. Yeah. So that is what's going on. If you're seeing posts disappear, I'm sorry. But what I'm not sorry for, and I'm not going to apologize for, is I like to do things that you guys enjoy. I think you mostly enjoy this because I have a pretty decent amount of subscribers, and a fair number of you guys like to come in on evenings and throw Rotten Tomatoes at me, particularly if you're Luther Pendragon. But one of the things that I like to do that I know you guys enjoy, hello, Vinny, good to see you, Nota Bartolo. One of the things that I like to do that you guys enjoy is if there's something that somebody's really passionate about that you find really interesting, I will give you a chance to come on and talk about it as long as it fits the format of the show. Loosely fits the format of the show, even. I'm never going to have somebody come in and talk about their favorite flavor of shoe polish. But it's something that we can have fun with regardless. And to that, tonight's guest is going to talk about Mork Borg. Now, let me give a little bit of introduction, because I know there's new people. We're up to 1,028, 1,029, something like that, subscribers to the channel. Welcome, friends. Let me just give you an internet hug. There you go. Just a friendly little pat on the shoulder kind of thing. So you might not know who our guest is, and a bunch of you might know who our guest is. One thing I can tell you is he is a participant in the Tuesday night AD&D game that we live stream. That's right. We live stream a game for 2 hours every Tuesday night right here on the show. That's why I've got this big honking camera tripod in the way. I forgot to move it. But he's also a fairly accomplished academic. He's a grad student at Towson University. Towson. We'll find out from him. He's a lifelong gamer. AD&D and second edition all the way back to when he was 7. He works gaming into his academic studies. I don't think you can really argue with that being an awesome thing. He tutors. He's given talks at the Northeast Popular and American Culture Association conference. He has a BA in European history, and he's going to talk to us tonight, I think appropriately enough for that background, about Mork Borg. Now, what is Mork Borg? We're going to find out. I know it's an OSR thing. Tropical orange is a great flavor. I'll take your guys' word for that. But we're going to talk to him. So I'm going to put the studio cans here on and then bring him into the studio. And by the way, his user handle is Ricky Maru. His name is Vayan Kyle, which, if you're from the Southern United States, means Kyle and a bunch of his peers. So let me just... we do this and then do that, and then he'll do the other. So please welcome to speak about both Mork and Borg. Hey, and Kyle, good evening, sir. How are you? Welcome, welcome.
Just fine. So the internet doesn't yell at you. It's more like Mork Borg.
Mork Borg. Okay, Mork Borg.
Dark Fort or Black Fort if you'd prefer, which is all it translates to. Thank the Swedes.
Well, I believe there's probably a lot we can thank the Swedes for. But yeah, thanks for coming on the show to talk to us about that. Now, my initial thought, because we do have a lot of folks who are creators, writers, artists, and so on, who come on the show, who've actually worked with a product. This is Mork Borg. I'm going to slip up and call it Mork Borg a couple more times tonight, just so you're aware. Mork Borg it's just a passion. It's just a thing you're passionate about. You haven't yet, and I say yet because I believe inside the heart of all gamers lies someone who wants to do a little self-publishing, because that's so easy to do these days. But you're just passionate about it, right?
So this system was what made me make my own system. This system was what made me look at D&D and Warhammer Fantasy, etc., and say, I kind of like this a little better, but this doesn't go far enough. It's a little too simple. So this is what pushed me into going from being a consumer to being a creator, which is why I want to share it.
Excellent. So
get this book. It is tactile. It glows in the dark. It uses like 40 different kinds of paper, 100 different fonts. I'm not kidding. It's literally an art project that you get to play. It's the kind of thing I'd leave on my coffee table if it wouldn't scare the cops. Anyway, sorry, and thank you for having me here.
Oh, you're quite welcome. So just at a glance, I like I said in the description about Mork Borg, it seemed to have a very I got sort of unreadable font, black metal band kind of vibe from it, more so even than stuff like and I say this with respect. I say this with respect because I like Rob Schwalb quite a bit on a personal level, more so even than like Shadow of the Demon Lord, things like that. Can you kind of give us the overall vibe of this game? Because there's like the artist who did the comic drawing the text kind of font in the middle of the page there. Like, when they wanted to be real dramatic in comics there. And of course, a skull. Your hit points are written on top of a skull. So
just so they aren't staring at me the whole time, why don't I share my screen while we talk about it? That way they can see.
Sure. You know what? It might be a little easier for me to... do you have the share button? Do you see the share button there in the toolbar?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. If you can do that, that's fine. Otherwise, I can share what I've got.
Because what I have is, if I go, did that work?
It may actually be. Let me see if I can.
There we go. Got it. And how's that?
We don't see anything, so I'm gonna. Let me see. Damn. Share screen. I'm gonna do that.
Why don't I can send you the book then.
Add to stream, and let's go to... Nope, that didn't work. There we go. So there's the character sheet at least.
Yeah. Well, why don't I, while you do that,
and then...
Why don't I do this then?
Because I think if you're just on one screen, we're going to see like an infinite tunnel if you try and share that. So that's what I'm talking about with a character sheet, folks. And if you're getting like serious heavy metal vibes off that, I mean, the crow's even got a guitar around its neck. Look at that.
Now the RPG itself. So Pell and here's where I'm going to be a terrible person because I don't know how to pronounce their first name. It's spelled P-E-L-L-E, Nilsson, that came up with it, was mad, insane, amazing. I'm not sure which, probably all of the above, but basically took black metal, as in the like death metal, the kind of thing that tends to get you thrown off the internet kind of metal, right?
Right.
And distilled that into a let's ride the end of the world kind of campaign setting that is the setting of Mork Borg. And so what is at the heart of Mork Borg is that the world is going to end. There is no stopping it. And it's all about how you deal with it. It's all about what you do, who you do it with. And at the end of the day, we're all dead. So
like a Call of Cthulhu, Jan, you can't stop the old ones from coming back, but you can stop this particular atrocity today. But the big one, you're not going to be able to stop.
Yeah, you're not really even stopping the today part in that sense. But yeah, definitely. It's at least this day, this week, you're not starving and you aren't the dead body in the gutter.
Right.
It kind of turns the thumb screws up on Conan a little bit there.
Okay.
It's a lot like Jack Vance, I would say. And the dying Earth, right? They know the sun's going to obliterate them. They know the end is coming. They just
sure. Right on.
So what you're seeing on your character sheet are kind of the core components. And if you check your email, Bill.
Give me just a second here, because that's actually, it will, I'm going to remove that from the screen real quick.
Yeah.
So folks don't have to look at my cluttered desktop.
Yeah, that happens. But that way you have access to the book, at least for streaming purposes.
Okay.
Free content sharing is legal under terms of, what was it? Entertainment, critique, and education.
Sure. And just so everyone is absolutely 100% aware, and I'm not like, winking at anyone when I say this, as a creator who puts stuff out there to make money off of sales, this is not a yo ho ho and a bottle of rum thing we're doing here. This is for purposes of the live stream. So I've got it there, and I see a goat man with a shield, and
excellent.
He could use a sandwich, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, a little thin.
Yeah. So let me just kind of zoom into that. Yeah, I sort of grabbed a little bit of the logo there. So why don't you tell us a little bit about mechanics as we sort of dive into this, and I'll bring that up. So
it's a simple D20 system. However, it's one where the GM does not roll many dice at all. I love it. And also, just as far as layout goes, this is one of the best laid out books I think I've used, bar none. And you can see why from the very first page. There's not a table of contents here when you open the book. There's useful things. There's what's on the body. There's what's in their pockets. There's something, right? So you can just flip open, chuck a die, and move. Did I mention the rules are huge? Like it's great. There's just so many of them. I'm dying under the weight of this book.
Okay.
So those tables really are gold, and I would encourage even those who play D&D still consider just having these in the front of your DMG or whatever. There is a laundry list of not just the artists involved, but music, things to listen to, of which Mork Borg's official website, which I guess if I was more organized, I'd have a link for, has a full metal album recommended and like ready to buy for this, if that is your jam. It's not mine, but hey. Well,
at least it's in alphabetical order.
Indeed. The next page, I believe, will answer many of your questions about the setting, Bill. Not that page, the following page.
Okay. Free League. Okay, Free League Publishing. They do some fine work. I'm not taken with their current Twilight 2000 edition, but they've done enough good stuff that I can overlook one misstep.
There you go.
So we have a ransom note, apparently.
Do you want to read it or should I?
I'll give it a quick read here. The winds from the west, from the sundered land, rot rises in the stench of blood. Wait a minute. Before I go on with this, is this like how an 80s horror movie begins?
Yeah.
Like I read this on the air and somebody's PC speakers start to bleed. And the next thing we know,
if this came out in the 80s, all of these books would have been burned.
Sure. Rot rises.
Come on, do it justice.
Rot rides it, and the stench of blood. Cursed walker, will you travel there to the valley of unfortunate undead? Our young ones are taken by the child thief Turgal, known for his vile crimes and the alchemy of flesh.
There
Distances
you go.
shift. Path between places warp. As if this lightless pale world will... that one more time in English. As if this pale, lightless world possessed will and bitter life.
There you go. So that is, I think, as an opening introduction, right, the core of what we're getting at. And you can't, this book, yes, as much as it is both system and setting, right, all at once, it gives you just enough as a game master to work with. It gives you just enough to chew on, right? That you can build from it. And if you might recall, in the 70s and 80s, there was this kind of living Greyhawk, right? Where your world was the same as every other DM's world and maybe your local area, and you could take your character from one game to another game. Or
I mean, I think that really got going in gear in the early 2000s with Wizards of the Coast. But yes, there was a living Greyhawk.
That core kind of Greyhawk living route where everybody was doing, you couldn't literally bring your character like character sheet, but you could still bring the same kind of character experiences. Right? You can get the same thing with Mork Borg, right?
Okay.
Where the Galgenbeck you visit at one DM's table is going to be different from the Galgenbeck at another DM's table, but they still both give you that core experience because they're coming from the same single paragraph of inspiration, right?
Okay.
If that makes sense. They're all built on the same primer.
Okay, I think so. But this is not this is not building the game. You're not like sending your notes to the creators and they're further building the game, or are you?
No. They have sent you their notes, which really is just this book, right? And that you then create from it. Because if you go into Mork Borg, here's the big thing. If you go into Mork Borg expecting a fully kitted out system that's going to give you everything you could ever want, go play AD&D, right? Right. This is, they give you some, right? But it's really they give you some, but then they give you the tools with which to do an infinite number of things. This is like basic fantasy in that regard, right? Okay. So all right. Does that give a good comparison for you?
That I think clears that up. Yeah.
Okay. If you want to scroll on a little further, I don't know how much you want to delve into the lore. That's up to you. But we can start jumping into the crunch and mechanics of Mork Borg if you would like.
I'll tell you what. I'm a mechanics guy, and I think if we're going to talk about lore, I mean, even the barest bones of RPGs, we could be here for hours and hours and hours delving into the lore. I mean, am I right? Let's take a look at some of the crunch and maybe how the lore kind of interweaves in or colors that. So where do we go from here? Because we've been denied a table of contents. So we just gotta. You are our Guardo Camino, our road guard. So
this book is so thin you don't need one.
Okay. All right.
All right. Whoa. There is the go back map. The reason why I say the map is the first step to the world and understanding the crunch is because every place on there, because it's a small island, right? Every place on here is reachable, is touchable, and is understandable immediately from the character sheet. So your background, your character background, your motivations, where you're going, what you're doing, is all kind of displayed, as it were, on this map.
Okay.
Right. So to first talk about, just to give the audience and to give you an idea of what we're talking about when we're talking about, I don't know, what did we mention before? The undead, the Valley of Unfortunate Undead.
Right.
There it is, right there on the map. You can see it.
I see that there. Although I have to say, just from a DM's perspective, I probably could have come up with something a bit stronger than unfortunate. And just unfortunate. Oh, that's a shame. Look at that. He's walking around. He really should lie down in a grave. That is, you don't like to see that. Go ahead.
Okay. Following that, we have several pages just on some of those areas, general areas, specifically 8 pages on them. So you can scroll to page 16, but take your time. Enjoy the artwork. The art and the inspiration for this, the look, the feel is a big part of it. And like Call of Cthulhu, you want to capture that in your descriptions as a DM when you play this, right?
Sure.
But page 16 is where we go for the first real bit of crunch.
All right, let's see. Now, I have to say, as a guy with old eyes, I am afraid of artsy books because too many people think artsy means unreasonable, or unreadable, rather. And the fonts are really, as stylistic as this is actually still very readable. You get so many fantasy books anymore that are like, it's brown ink on a sepia tone page. We want to make it look like an old tome, but we're also printing it on 60-pound high gloss. That
You're
it's
gonna
like
eat your words when we hit the pink.
Oh, okay.
So yes, you were 100% right. Like 90% of this book is great for us people with bad eyesight.
Mm-hmm.
The other parts, oh boy, is it bad.
That's a little rough. That's a little rough. Ooh, even highlighting it, that's yeah.
The pink is rough.
In the middle of the artwork. See, I thought another book about apocalyptic conditions and just avoiding the horror today was completely on the other end of the spectrum as far as genre and so on, was Eclipse Phase. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but they wove their text in and out of some gorgeous art, but it was woven in and out of the gorgeous art. It's so hard to read that. Or they'd have like here's a map of one of Saturn's moons and an important page of rules superimposed over it. Like, guys, God.
Before you scroll down any further.
Before I scroll down any further.
Do not proceed any further. Do you want your campaign to last days, weeks, months, or years?
Well, I'm coming up this July on year 7 of my AD&D campaign. I'm a long haul kind of guy.
You're a long haul kind of guy?
I am.
Well, the next page tells you exactly what you need. So now scroll down.
All right, now I'll scroll down.
Now you scroll down. So we have reached the calendar of Necrubal.
Hey, that skeleton's flicking me off. I don't got to take that out of him. All right, let's see.
He has a bone to pick with you.
That's fine. Oh, I see. We got the Dan Aykroyd vodka skull there. That's good. So the calendar of Necrubal. Did I get it?
Yep. And This is the first crunchy kind of core mechanic of the system. So if you scroll down just a tiny bit more, you'll see it right there.
Okay.
Right there. So every day, every campaign day, this isn't really a system with downtime, or at least much of it, not like AD&D.
Okay.
Right. The DM rolls your choice anywhere from a D3, or in this instance a D2, all the way up through a D100. And those advance calendar points, which is the calendar of Nethgrubel, right? Which is on the next page. There are examples for it. And the way it works is that there are 7 phases of the calendar. With each phase, obviously the apocalypse gets a little worse, right?
I'm seeing 5, but I'll take your word for it.
Well, no, keep going down. You'll see it.
Okay. All right.
But those are just die options. So if you want a campaign to last years, you roll a D100 every day in game, right? And you have that 1 in 100 chance that, guess what? Today, the apocalypse is going to advance. In theory, we should be able to make it 700 days. I don't know about you. I've rolled D100s before, and I've chucked 1,000 of them and only gotten 1-1 before. It's sad, but possible. I can't tell you how many D20s I've chucked and not got 1.
That's why in real life people say, come on, what are the odds of that happening? Look, I'm a gamer. I know what the odds of that happening are.
It's not 5%. I promise. It's Go ahead.
Yeah. What are the odds we're going to go to the store and they're going to be out of blah? Are you asking someone who rolls percentile dices and has seen gods show up in D&D games despite having a single digit percentage chance? Because I'll tell you. And that gets me odd looks from whoever I'm going to the store with, but I do carry on. Please continue.
So for each time this happens, we have a calendar, right? And so the DM rolls to determine which phase of the calendar. So, as let's take an example. Oh, I don't know. The city shall be made hollow, right? Psalm 1:1.
Okay.
Right? So the DM may choose or roll randomly for Psalm 1:1. Another DM may have a different psalm as their first fall. As their first fall for the apocalypse, right? So this is where things, even from the very beginning, start to be different, right? My campaign world will be different from yours, etc. But we all have a similar end game. So this time pressing, this need to do more, this need to do as much with what you have left, and nobody knows, not even the DM knows, what's going to happen until it happens, right? So everybody's kind of anxious, everybody's interested until you hit that 7th day, the 7th apocalypse, and the world ends, and well, we burn our books and move on.
Right. So it's like Ghostbusters trying to explain it to the mayor there in the first movie. Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Yep, pretty much. Now, if we want to start rolling you up a character, see the next page.
All right, let's take a look at that.
So there are 2 kinds of characters in Mork Borg. There are the characters with classes and the characters without classes. It's an all-human system, if you can really call the people that inhabit this sad, sick, broken world human. So you have a choice. Do you want to be a classless character, or do you want to have a class, quote unquote?
Well, in the words of the late great Rodney Dangerfield, call me later when you don't have any class. So let's do that. Let's go classless. I'm feeling classless tonight.
Excellent. So we'll have a look at page 18. It'll tell you everything you need to know right now.
All right. That's my kind of directness.
Exactly. Right there. Right there.
Right there. Okay.
Little up. Little up.
Little up. Little up.
Up. There you go.
In this world, there's a riches or redemption, something the apocalypse is inescapable, that it might even be stopped. And there you walk in discord and despair. One hand holds 2d6 times 10 silver. I'm all about having a little bit of cash.
Note, so they pack the mechanics into the fluff of the setting, but they bold them. They stand out. Editors, for the love of God, pay attention.
Yeah. Oh my God. I think I've ranted on this show, elsewhere, in text and voice. I'll wear a sandwich board with it. That one of the greatest failings of not Eclipse Phase. The
D&D period.
No. It was a White Wolf game, and and I was just like, This is page after page of Naruto fanfic. There's no gosh darn rules in here. And if there are rules in here, they're buried in fluff. You know, so I was just like, I can't with this. Nothing was highlighted. There were no tables. This is helpful. This is bolded.
Yeah.
So I've got 120 silver pieces.
Dear God. Okay. You are
boxcars.
Right. Chuck a D4.
I got a 4.
Hey, you got 4 days of food, you got a water skin, you got a whole bunch of money. Scroll to the next page.
All right. And just to pause here, so from left to right, we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Guar, Black Panther Before He's Had His Coffee, and The Lord of the Rings. Moving on.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think I have to tell you, but you might have an idea of what you need to do here. Just guess.
All right. Well, I'm thinking I'm going to be rolling to see some equipment.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start on that D6 table.
You start with some free equipment. It always feels good.
All right. Let's see. A small wagon. I'll take a wagon. Now let's roll a D12.
Yep. They actually use the D12s in this system as well.
Let's see.
They're great for tables.
What one is that? Presents plus 4 torches.
Okay. We'll get to your presents in a minute, so you may want to just write that
down.
Right. You're gonna have a whole bunch of torches, though.
Sure. Let me see here. Apologies if I get the notepad stuck in the middle here. I was doing it for a LARP early. No, it's over on this screen. Earlier during the stream, but I don't want to. Don't want to plaster that up. Let's see. Blah blah blah. Where we? So we had we've got a small
plus 4 torches and a small wagon. 120 silver, 4 days of food, and a water skin. The other thing I love about this RPG, your entire character sheet fits on a 3x5 note card.
Oh yeah, that's a big selling point. I think our co-host Kyle might like that. Yes. All right, and so this last one, 12, a tent.
Hey, can't beat it.
I'm glad I don't have to roll twice on that table. I might wind up 2 tents. All right.
Now, we have a couple of options here. Just to let everybody at home see, this bottom section here is for those that want to have class, and kind of walked you through the process down there. For those of us, which is under the optional rules setting down below. But we have for us, it was just create a player character, 5 quick, simple, easy steps.
Sure.
Which is a little further down. And then the optional rules, which are, of course, a little further down. Those.
All right.
So for those playing at home, there you go. Now, if you want to continue, we can have a look at some killer artwork.
Let's go to the artwork. As I said, you are my Guardo Camino, my road guard.
For me.
Let's see. We'll grab the old Star Frontiers D-Twin. It's 10. It's never failed me except all the times it has. Like now, for example, that's a 1. Or is that
Go to the next page. You'll see what you get.
Oh, good Lord. We're going to have to try that again. I don't know if that was a 1 or a 7.
I promise.
That is an 8.
You'll love what you... stick with the 1. You'll love it.
Stick with a 1. Okay, all right. So to the next page. Femur.
You want a femur.
All right.
You won your femur. You want a femur on your sheet. Does D4 damage.
Femur. All right.
Whether it's your father, whether it's your mother, whether it's your cousin Jim, we don't know. We don't care. But you have a femur.
All right.
This is not just a weird piece of art. It's also function. That D10 is one weapon, both A, in this poor sod's body, but B, one option for you to start the game with.
Okay.
So as you can see, if you would roll a 7, you would have gotten a bow, as an example.
Sure.
And don't worry, they're all displayed in a chart on the next page, so you can actually, or
all right,
a couple pages later, but yeah. So if you keep scrolling, there's the flail, there's a crossbow, there's a great big old Zweihander. And then the next die you're going to want to roll is when you hit page 24, which is the page.
Page 24. Page 2. All right, let's see.
Which is the next page? That one.
That
also,
one.
That's a fun piece of art, but I'm a sucker for German woodcuts. That's the medieval in me coming out.
Sure.
Armor, chuck a D4. Let's see what you get.
Alrighty. Oh, look, a 4. Okay. Heavy armor, splint plate,
etc. So choose, you get to choose what flavor of heavy armor you want, whether you want it to be, like a reinforced scale, splint plate, maybe a splint plate, maybe a heavy breastplate, whatever. It does have encumbrance in that sense, as is noted, right? But also notice, here's the thing with Mork Borg. What do you notice about the armor values, Bill?
I don't see them. They're tiers.
Its armor is damage reduction.
I see. Okay, DR. All right. I didn't know if that was difficulty rating or not.
Yeah, right. Its armor as well. DR is difficulty roll. So in this instance, you have a DR -2, which means all of your agility checks, including defense rolls, which are how you defend yourself, are penalized. But because it's heavy armor, you get a -D6 to all damage against you. So if I try and stab you with, if I beat you over the head with your own femur, okay, I chuck a D4, but you roll your D6, right? So say I get a 3 and you get a 6. Well, I'm sorry, there's no such thing as a free lunch. You still take 1 point of damage.
Sure.
But you ain't dead, and your armor saved your bacon. So that's the way it works.
Nice.
That's also provided you failed your defense rolls, blah, blah, blah. This is very similar, I guess, to how Warhammer works, right? Where you make a defense roll and then you roll for armor. Okay, so you got your heavy armor, you got a femur, you got some starting equipment. The following page takes you to a whole bunch more equipment.
Okay.
Which is where you buy all the usual adventuring gear, or if you were like, I really want a shield, or, I want a small dog, or whatever. That's all the following page. So it's all there, meat hooks, pry bars. I think there's a bomb or two on here. The usual things.
Right.
Backpack, that kind of thing. So you could spend hours poring over that, I'm sure. But I guess a quick scroll will do for now. That's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say this is all pretty standard, really.
Okay. Now, as we get to the next page, here's where it's going to get fun. Here's where we get back into the crunch, right? Because you are a no-class character, you roll 4d6 and not 3d6 for your starting abilities.
Okay. So 4d6.
Normally you roll 3. You roll 4. There are 4 stats: agility, presence, strength, toughness. They all do exactly what you think. Except presence is what determines ranged attacks. Your ability to perceive the world, your ability to see, helps you shoot things. I prefer this over agility. I'm coming from somebody who is blind and who loves to do things from shooting guns to bows. It really is kind of hard to do that while being blind. I'm dexterous, but I can't see. So low presence score for me. What'd you get for your first one?
All right, let's see here. And you said 4d6, right?
4d6, correct.
All right. Let's get the old lucky game science dice here. First one is 20.
Cool. Damn.
That's why I called them my lucky game science dice.
Okay, so your first stat is a +3. So your agility +3. Throw the 20 out. We don't need it anymore. This is not a derivative system. The 20 goes away. We don't care. Just keep the +3. Write the +3 down. That's all you'll ever need.
Got it.
Then you do the same thing for presence. Chuck 4.
Oh, I only got a 12 for presence.
That is a +0. So you are not very perceptive. Flexible, dodgy, nimble. Not perceptive.
All right.
Do it again for strength. Are you swole?
I must be pretty swole. I got an 18.
That is a +3 again. My God.
All right.
if you show, okay, I tell you what. Everybody here who's taking notes, if you show up to either my Thursday game or my Saturday game with this character, I'll allow it. Anybody else, that's no. But because we're rolling it live, you got it.
All right, and toughness is my final one, right?
Correct, Mundo.
Let's see. 6, 6, 5, 1. 12 and 5, 17, 18. So that's a toughness
plus 3 to me.
All right.
You have the makings of a god. Pray you roll good for hit points.
Okay. Because so what do we do for hit points?
Hit points, I believe, for you will be a D8. Toughness plus D8.
Wow, I should have rolled a D8. All right.
Yep.
7.
Dear God. Okay, so you start with 10 hit points. You, sir, have the makings of a god in you. Now, note, one very important thing for everyone who's paying attention at home. You did not see weights, measurements, etc. next to all of these items on the character block, right? There weren't slot or anything like that, right? So but this game counts slots. This game counts how many items you're holding, which starts at strength plus 8. So, Bill, you have a strength, I think, of plus 3. Nice, convenient number. 3 plus 8 is 11. You can hold 11 items. This would include your armor. This would include your weapon. This would include your backpack, which then can hold 7 items. Yada, 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 yada.
Sure.
So, note, item carrying in this system is what is key. You know, I can haul out a sack full of gold coins, but if I don't have the sack to put them in, I'm screwed. Right? So it's all about thinking with how many slots you have available and finagling with your DM how many slots is a ladder worth.
Sure, a little inventory management. I've gotcha.
Personally, I'd say 3, but that's just me. Right? You know, because it's pretty hard to do things and carry around a ladder.
Right.
Right. So, you know, and of course, best judgment can be applied. There's a big difference between 100 pounds in feathers and 100 pounds in lead.
Right on.
Okay, next page.
Sorry, Cheshire Cat. Yes, I'm swole and tough and all that fun stuff. And I want to thank Random Internet Hijinks. Thank you very much for the super. He says the gruesome picture on page 21 is from a 16th century woodcut called "The Wounded Man" or German.
Points to you for knowing your history. I said I was a sucker for German woodcuts, and you knew what I was talking about.
There you go.
Thank you.
We've got a pretty erudite audience here, I like to think.
That's off to you, sir. Okay, now we're going to ruffle a little bit of feathers. If you look at page 20, I think that's a 28. That's a 28. We're going to ruffle a little feathers here.
Okay.
Right there.
Where's 28? Okay.
When you're at 0 hit points, you're broken.
Okay.
When you're at -1, -2, etc., you are dead, son. Do not pass go. Do not collect $100. There's no saving throw. There's no you're bleeding out. You are dead. And now we'll get to violence. Please see the next page.
Okay.
Okay, this is how violence works, and this took me a little while to figure out because it's weird. But it's a lot like AD&D in that sense, where it's just, oh look, what's initiative? Well, chuck a d6. You know, 1 to 3, you lose. On the 4 to 6, you win. It's random. I personally roll initiative every round. That's a little controversial, but I like it. It makes the fights dynamic. You know, monsters might go twice, players might go twice, whatever. All rolls are made by the players. All of them, except for damage.
Okay.
So, in other words, if you, Bill, and we'll probably do this later if we have time. If you have time to shank a goblin, want to make a melee attack, it's right there. You know, D20 plus your strength. There you go.
Sorry about that. Okay.
Ranged attack, presence, defense roll is just that. Is agility based. It's very simple. It's very clean. It's very nice. A nat 1, if a player rolls a nat 1 on a defense roll, they take a crit. The same way as if an enemy rolled a nat 20. Because this is a crit system. I'm sorry. But it's also a fumble system where if the player rolls a 1 on an attack roll, their weapon breaks. and now they're left scrambling for a new one.
Sure.
Also, though, and here's where crits are really important, crits reduce armor of your opponents or of you. So it's not just bad enough that, say, if I crit you, I didn't just do double damage to you. I took your armor down from a D6 to a D4. Your armor will not protect you as much as it did before. Permanently until repaired. So there are times where you can get crit and get crit again, or even get crit again, and you're naked. You don't have wearing light armor is good, but you're only one crit away from being naked.
Sure, I gotcha.
So it's food for thought, right? But it also works the other way around. When the players crit the boss, if they crit the boss, turn 1, turn 2, whatever, right? It makes the boss easier to deal with in a very real way that shortens the fight. Crits have lasting consequences in that sense. So I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, that's it for combat. That's it. There's no you have time enough to move and attack, or move and take an action. That's it. It's that simple. Everything else is up to negotiation.
Now, as far as crits, let me just say this, and this is kind of a general statement about my feelings. I think if a game has crits, if it's built into the system, and the system is built around the conceit that there are crits that are going to happen, I'm okay with that. I mean, some of the most fun you can have is looking at the crit tables in Rollmaster or in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Systems that don't have crits generally don't have them for a reason. It's not for a lack of texture. Like, you put crits and fumbles and so on into AD&D, and it tonally changes the game. It mechanically alters the game. So that this has crits and fumbles, that's great. That's good. It is another spice in it, if you will.
Fights in Mork Borg are short and they are brutal.
Okay, that would seem to follow. That would seem to follow.
On the next page, we'll actually get to what happens if you survive your fights.
Okay.
Well, technically speaking, it's not that next page; it's the page after that. It'd be page 31. But
sure.
Awesome, late Renaissance, or actually early Renaissance, based on the illustration there. That's a very
yeah, I remember that from a humanities book in high school, actually. So
we have rest, we have reactions, and we have morale. So you regain, provided it's a nice, safe place, D6 hit points resting in your bed. But you can also take a short rest, and this stops the 5-minute adventuring day in that sense, just that little bit, right? Because you can stop, take a breather, have a drink, regain some hit points, right? I also let my players regain a power as well. They can either regain hit points or regain a power. So if they want to cast one more spell, we'll get to that. Reaction rolls, as I'm sure as a veteran DM, you are intimately familiar with them.
Oh, very much so.
Instead of using a percentile system like AD&D, it's the same bell curve. It's just 2d6 instead. Morale, big part of this RPG, demands morale because well, let's face it, not everybody's going to stay and die, right?
Okay.
Some will, but not everyone. And as at least my players can attest, it's bad when they all decide to stay and die.
Right, of course.
Okay, now let's talk about leveling up. That's
okay.
Lovely bit of artwork there.
Yes. Getting better.
There are not levels in Mork Borg. There are no levels in Mork Borg.
Sure.
Okay. What you do is you roll a set number of dice. Is it 10d4 or is it 6d10? I never remember.
Roll 6d10.
6d10. So you roll those. If you roll above your current hit points, which is equally possible, but you have 10 hit points, you might roll, 6 ones. So let's level you up once. Let's give you the benefit of the doubt, Bill.
I am all about that. Let's see.
Let's level you up once. So roll 6d10s for me.
Well, let's see. I did it without rolling. Wait, 6d10? Oh, 6d10. Okay, I was rolling 10d6.
That's my problem. I always think it's 10d6, and the answer is no.
Yeah, it's. Dyscalculia is a very real thing, folks. Let me see.
I'm glad it's not just me.
No.
Also, trying to find 6010s can sometimes be the hard part.
Yeah. If you're not a storyteller game player, you know. Let's see. Yeah, I see 36 just on a couple there.
You cleared your paltry 10 hit points. So roll a d6 for me.
I'm going to roll this orange one I always use as an initiative and surprise die against you guys on Tuesday night. So this should do pretty well. A 5. Not bad.
Well, you went from 10 hit points to 15.
All right.
That ain't bad. Now, roll that d6 again for me.
A 2.
While carousing, while enjoying your new level, you gain nothing.
Fair enough.
You gain no silver, you gain no spells, you gain nothing else. But all of your abilities might change. So now for each of your abilities, roll a d6. So remember how you had like that awesome agility score and that awesome strength score, yada, yada, yada. If you roll above that number, it goes up.
Okay.
But if you roll 1 or below it, it goes down.
Okay, I rolled a 6 on agility.
So your agility goes up to +4.
All right.
Let's see where your presence goes.
A 6 again. I love this die.
Hey, it loves you too.
So that's a 1 on...
a 1. Goes from a 0 to a 1. Yep.
Toughness. I feel like I need to point the camera over here because I rolled another 6. I'm not lying. I'm not making this up.
All right. And now for your strength, the important one.
Am I setting myself up to be Mork Borg Jesus? Is that what's going to happen here? The guy fixed the... We had this guy roll up a character and he fixed our game.
What happened? I secretly loaded all of Bill's dice.
Okay. Well, that one's only a 5.
Well,
you see why I use this? All right. So it goes up 1. All right.
Yep. Now I've had players level and walk out of a level worse in almost all categories than when they came in. So, they walk out and all of their stats, but like 1 is lower and then their hit points went up and that's it. And I've actually had players level and they don't gain any hit points and their stats barely change as well. So some levels it's great, some levels it's not. But this is the way, and even then, here I go calling them levels, right? It's just,
no, that's we know what you meant. I won't tell Free League on you for calling them that. Lord Corion says yes, use up all the good rolls before next Tuesday.
Yeah, right. So that's the level.
Lord Corion, a super chat might get you guys a auto initiative win next week. Just saying. Anyway,
do it. Do it. Okay. Now we have not talked about powers. We have not talked about omens. We have not talked about casting spells.
Oh, right? Man. Okay.
So let's get into that because here's something that Gygax would hate. Every character is a spellcaster. Every character has the ability to cast spells. Now, whether or not you have them to begin with, well, that's up to you, your wallet, and how much armor you feel like wearing. Because if you wear medium or heavy armor, guess what? No spells for you.
Now, I tell you, having seen Legendary Adventures, I mean, it was not D&D. Gary might have not liked this for D&D, but that doesn't mean he would have disliked it for other games. So, just had to say, a little asterisk there, just a little,
because his hatred for wizards was famous.
Okay, and yet he played such effective ones.
Yeah, he did them dirty level 1. I'm sorry.
Mordenkainen, Big B, Rigby. Let's see.
So, one important thing with powers is you gain D4 plus P of them, unless you're a specialist class, which gains D6. But you, sir, can cast D4 plus your presence score per day. And what was your presence at this point?
It's just 1.
So remember those torches you had before?
Yeah.
You have 4. Now 5.
All right. Okay.
Your presence went up by 1. So you now have 5 torches. and you can cast D4 plus 1 powers per day, or at least attempt to.
All right, the game science dice have been real good to me tonight, not counting the old Holmes Basic Orange there. So let's see. Somebody, when I made that shoe polish comment earlier, was saying something about Sunshine Orange being good. Well, the proof is in the game table. So let's see. What do we got? 4.
Okay. Well, if you weren't wearing plate armor, or if you wanted to run around naked, your choice, you could cast 4 plus 1 spells. So 5 spells. That's not bad. You'd also have to know them, but hey, and knowing them is actually what's on the next page. But let's not forget, in order to cast spells in Mork Borg, you have to make a presence roll equal to difficulty roll 12, which doesn't sound like much, but you only have a +1, so you have to roll an 11 or higher
for my spell to go off, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? Let's just practice this. I'm just sitting around, hanging out in my room in the inn. I'm trying a little, I don't know, continual light, because this is grim dark.
Sure.
And I'd like it to at least be grim lit.
Yeah, you can spend 50 silver and buy a light scroll.
All right, let's see there. Didn't happen. 3 plus 1 is 4. So.
Okay, so now you're dazed, and any spells you try and cast for the next hour will go catastrophically wrong if you fail again.
Well, I'm not going to do that.
You say that now. Wait until you're in a dungeon.
Well, that's a different matter altogether.
There's
hanging out in the inn room, and that didn't work versus being in a dungeon. By the way, say thank you, Lord Corion, please.
Thank you, Lord Corion.
I believe I'm going before the orcs every round then. My God. I've created a monster. All right, so
the spells, quote unquote, are on the next page. The scrolls are. There are clean, or rather sacred, and there are unclean scrolls.
Okay.
Typically, as you might guess, sacred scrolls are used for healing people, doing clerical things, the nice things in life. Unclean effects include things like, I don't know, foul psychopomp and death. One of my favorites is actually 7 violent signs, a not the storm, which has gotten a lot of play at my table, personally. So, yes. And for those of you who've been on the Mork Borg subreddits, at least in the very beginning, I have whole other additional spell lists posted there. So find them, use them, enjoy. It is 1 power per spell. So you spend a power, try and cast a spell. Say you want to cast death, right? And note, though, the effects of some of these are fun, because it's all creatures within 30 feet succumb to death. Specifically, all succumb to 4d10 hit points of damage.
Mm-hmm.
Right there. That includes your friends.
But again, I'm a gamer, and I have been for a long time, so I know just as well. I have seen somebody roll a fistful of d6s, and they all come up ones. So that could be 4 hit points to something.
It could, or this is how you get the party spellcaster charging, straightforward naked into the enemy line of goblins, going murder, and cast death and succeed, and then all the goblins are dead.
Yeah, and then you've got. I see here you've got curing, you've got bless, you got. I'm just putting these in a context. Maybe some of our viewers aren't. So we basically have cure light wounds, we have bless, we have prayer, essentially raise dead.
Yeah,
you've got raise dead. Speak with animals. Continual light or darkness 15-foot radius, kind of a magic missile sort of spell, find traps, and charm person.
All the
just to kind of put that into a context for those of you who might not have completely. I'm scrolling pretty fast here, I guess is what I'm saying. Maybe you didn't pick up on it.
Oh, yeah.
Dungeon Minister says, my own manifesto will be unleavened. I can't wait to read it. Wait a minute. This is just a recipe for poutine.
Oh, God. The next 2 pages aren't too important for you, but people might like. This is Lucy and, of course, Ark, who are the twin-headed basilisks that govern everything that happens on the foul island where all of this takes place. Right?
Okay.
And if you are a DM, you have a lovely D20 chart. If you're ever bored and don't have an idea and just, I need something, I need some inspiration. What does the basilisk cry for? And for those of you who maybe play in my upcoming Saturday game, at the con, you will see the Tomb of the Weeping Angels came from this inspiration list. So you'll like it. Or you'll hate it. Either way, blame the basilisks. Don't blame me.
I can get number 14 done just like that. Just prick my finger and write on a piece of parchment, "Joy smells like farts." Here you go.
Oh, God.
Sorry, had to have a little fun with it. Anyway, yeah, okay. No, you gotta love your random tables.
It's just it's a little something, right? Just a little something for the creative spark.
Sure.
Omens. This is the last.
There's a crow with a guitar I was telling everybody about earlier.
Yep. Omens. This is another thing for your character sheet. You get a couple of them. I believe that couple is D2. Literally, a couple. So at the beginning of every day, you roll your powers, you roll your omens, right? Your omens let you do fun things like you see on the right-hand side of the bird there. There's 5 of them in total. You can do things like reduce the DR of a roll. You can re-roll a die if need be. I also like to give the option that you can spend an omen to gain a small item as well. Like, we really need that extra torch, and we forgot it. Like, spend an omen. There you go.
Okay.
Right. But that is a house rule, obviously. But it's, that's the kind of thing omens are for, right? They're to affect and manipulate the dice. Also to max damage when you really, really need that die to hurt, right? Right now, the boss has to go down.
Sure.
Omen, right? This is my favorite part about Mork Borg, because it gives, there are nights, right, where you've seen it, where the players can't roll anything, right? And they're just failing and failing and failing. And this helps curb that.
My dad put that very much, and you've heard me say it before, valued viewers. Some days you get the bar, and someday the bar gets you.
Yep. And this just helps that little bit, right? Because this is a brutal, as I think you may have noticed, even with your god tier character, it can be brutal, right? You can have god tier stats and start with 1 hit point. Good luck to you, right? I've seen it happen. Speaking of trauma and bad things, now let's get to how horrible your character is. The sick, sad sadist you are inside. Next page. Roll a d20 for me.
All right.
And all of this can be done.
It's very. It looks nice and bright on me, but honestly, like everything outside here, it's very dim. My eyes are already not great, so let's see.
Yeah.
I know you can relate. I know you can relate. So let's see. I got a 4.
So you're a loudmouth.
Yep.
Here, take mine. Sorry. Okay, so there's your first character trait. Whether or not you roll with it, that's on you. But flip to the next page and chuck another d20 for me.
Are all men from the future such loudmouth braggarts as yourself? Nope, just me, baby. Just me. All right, let's see.
And by the way, yes, for you your viewers at home, it says for terrible traits, roll twice. For the sake of the stream, we're only rolling once.
All right.
I was cutting off that comment before it started.
Let's see. I'm gonna have to scroll down.
Please tell me you got a hook for a hand.
No. I'm sorry. I have. Hauntingly beautiful. I rolled an 8. Hauntingly beautiful and unnervingly clean.
Hey, I don't know exactly what that looks like other than Mr. Clean.
Yeah.
So you're a loudmouth Mr. Clean.
Yes.
You're the arm and
like
hammer
I said,
guy.
Ash from Army of Darkness. Yeah.
Hey,
just me, baby.
You still got 1 more d20 left to roll. Actually, 2 more technically. So, and that's on the next page for bad habits.
First you want to kill me, then you want to kiss me. blow. Let's see.
You might end up as Ash from the Evil Dead here in a minute. It'll be great.
All right. Well, this fits me quite nicely. I laugh hysterically at my own jokes.
Hey.
So far, this character is just like me.
A loudmouth, squeaky clean.
The last detail.
Wow. Awesome. And now let's see who you've murdered in your recent past. One final D20 roll for me with Troubling Tales. This is technically an optional one, but it's good, and it gives...
Oh, no, this is a good pulpy background here.
Yeah, right.
Well, if it's just like me, I'm going to roll in massive debt. The debt is being traded to successively more ruthless groups, but we'll see what happens.
That's what one of my players had just recently.
Let's see. No, that is 14. Violence, 14. Violence forced me into the wilderness. You think waving trees are whispering to you. Scream at, attack tree. You talk to, scream at, and attack trees. No, that's kind of that goes back to Ash from the Evil Dead.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
That reminds me of a game of Call of Cthulhu we played where I had a character who we encountered a dark young of Shub-Niggurath, and my character, his immediate insanity was a phobia, and his phobia was agoraphobia. And we're running through the woods away from the thing, and I plow into a tree, pick myself up, and shoot it a couple of times.
I mean, I would too.
Bam, bam, bam.
I would too. All right, so for those who are trying to cast spells, and failing miserably, the next 2 pages are the bane of your existence. Well, really, the first page is just pretty. It's the second page that's the bane of your existence. So when you roll a nat 1, or in my instance, roll less than 5, because I'm a terrible person and I love to punish my players, you get to roll on this lovely D20 chart here. If you roll on any of them twice, you burst into flames, that is, that only water feeds.
I'm going to leave this to magic users.
It's great.
It is.
Okay, now we get into the classes, which you can either scroll through, pause, read at, have a look at, enjoy.
I think I will when I buy a copy of this myself. Again, this is going away after the show.
Have I sold you on the wonders of Mork Borg?
It is pretty interesting. I may have to pick this up to comb over for ideas. I have this table. You guys, the camera's mounted on and everything is essentially held up with plastic storage bins full of idea books. So don't think I won't do it, boys and girls.
With each of these classes, you'll see this with the Fang Deserter as an example. There's your special abilities, but they're all not quite the same. So as an archetype here, right, Fang Deserters start with a different amount of silver, but still only actually the same amount of silver as you did, and D2 omens, but better hit points. Toughness plus D10. Right.
I see. Number 1 is the mask. It's the monster mask.
Indeed. Right. And you can either roll randomly, hence they're all nicely numbered, or you can choose. So if you want to be a kind of fighter that, your special gift is this nasty, gnarly scimitar you have, there you go. Right. And so that's what your character becomes known for if you chose Fang Deserter and that option. And there's a whole bunch of these. There's the Fang Deserter, which we have here. There's the Gutterborn Scum, which is your thiefy rogue type, which is on the next page.
Okay.
And some really horrifying art. Genuinely.
We gotta be careful with that. No.
I don't mean it's like graphic or anything. There's nothing like that. It's disturbing.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen worse in Junji Ito's work. So yeah,
it's seasoned to your soul. The Esoteric Hermit is kind of it's not really a druid archetype. It's more of like a weird hermit out in a cave kind of magic.
I gotcha. Archetype. The guy you bump into in Keep on the Borderlands.
Next is the Bard.
Okay.
Well, actually, they're called Wretched Royalty, but it's basically a bard. complete with talking horse.
Look at my horse. My horse is amazing. Okay.
Next is the Heretical Priest, which is your cleric-y type. They can wear medium armor and cast spells.
Gotta have them.
You gotta have them. And then you have your Occult Herb Master, which is your druid type. They basically run around, unlike D&D druids, though, they run around with basically like a potion-making kit and like throw poison and acid in your face and stuff. They're that kind of hermit. Or they're that kind of druid.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's fun. And then we get to some of the sample monsters following that. But otherwise, that is the core of what is Mork Borg, the 6 optional classes. But let's go ahead and get to the Seth, which is this setting's version of goblins. And my players have come to fear these little things.
Everyone I knew when I was growing up named Seth looked like this, by the way. Right. They had an Ocean Pacific shirt and Levi's jeans, but every Seth I knew looked like that. And I bet that's the case for all of you guys, too. So anyway.
The Seth, the scary thing about them is that if they hit you and live, you become one.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So
fascinating.
Let's see what happens here. All right, Bill. You come across 4 of them. 4 small, hunched, little green goblinoids with knives and short bows. And because this is an urban setting and you don't like trees, we'll go ahead and say they jump you from an alley. Let's roll a d6. Luckily for you, I rolled above a 4, so you get to act first.
All right.
They would be, hold up, let's see if you're within spitting distance or not. They're about 70 feet away.
Okay.
So you probably can't quite cover that this turn, but what do you want to do? If you're in, say, a small urban environment, it's dirty, it's nasty, but you got 4 angry-looking goblinoids coming your way. What do you want to do?
Is there a barrel in the street, like a rain barrel or something?
Probably. It's probably a bit hefty, but you probably could kick it over, etc.
I'm going to kick it over and roll it down the street at him and try to knock him over.
Absolutely. Give me a strength roll for me. Clear a 16, let's say.
All right. Let me bring up my character sheet so I can do my thing.
I think you should have a +4 at this point, so you have a pretty good chance.
Yeah, so let's see. That is a 12.
There's a 12 total. Okay, you managed to heave the barrel over. It spills out everywhere, creating a big puddle of rainwater, but otherwise you can't quite roll it down after them.
All right.
They will spend their turn advancing and menacing you with some rocks. Make a defense roll for me. So
all right.
20 plus your agility.
That is a 20 total.
There's a 20 total. Okay, good news. Mm-hmm. The rock doesn't hit you in the head. Roll again. There's a second rock.
That is a 15.
Okay, the second rock does not hit you in the head. The goblins have closed. The Seth near in. Blades drawn. Now what is it you'd like to do?
You said they've closed?
Yep.
I'm going to brain one with my leg.
Absolutely. Go for it. It's a d20 plus strength.
That is a 19 total.
Yep, that'll definitely do it. Take your d4.
And as this plus strength, I was going to say.
Plus strength.
7.
He is dead. I don't even have to roll armor. So that is
split.
That is one of them dead. And with the first one dead, let me check morale. With the first one dead, 2 of them flee, 1 still remains.
Can I get a parting shot at one of the fleeing ones?
You cannot. But, good news, I did just roll initiative again, and you did win. So there's 2 fleeing and 1 that wants to stay and fight. Now you can attack one of the fleeing ones.
No, I'm going to attack the one that wants to stay and fight and teach him an important lesson about wanting to stay and fight.
Go for it.
24.
That clears a 14. I should state also, one of the things I like about Mork Borg is the default DR is 12. And the players know that.
I need to color that in. I can't. Sorry. No, I rolled it. I should stand by it. This is a worn out old dice, but that is a total of 5.
It's a 5. Okay, well, I rolled a 2 for armor. So it takes 3 points. It's still in the fight, and it is going to attempt to stab you. So give me a defense roll as it gives back what it's gotten.
All right. That's a D20 also, correct?
Yep. D20 plus agility.
Plus agility, okay. 24.
Yep, you dive out of the way of its knife. And
just for heroic sake, can I just go, ha, 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 as his knife clanks off my armor?
Absolutely, but as you are cackling, you lose initiative and have to dodge another stab.
That's fine. That is a 18 total.
And you managed to dodge another stab. How are you responding?
I am going to use the bone and smack him in the head.
Absolutely.
17. This is strength.
And, yep, D4 plus strength damage.
21.
17 clears a 14.
21.
So D4 plus strength damage. He's probably dead.
Let's see. D4. That's 5 total.
Oh yes, he is dead. So that brings a goblin encounter of 4 Seth versus 1 player character in an alleyway to a close. You were not stabbed, you are not infected, nor are you going to turn into a goblin here in the next week. Good for you.
Okay.
And you are well on the way to gaining another level.
Are the remaining goblins out of sight now?
They probably would be at this point, yes.
Pity. Wanted to pick the barrel up and go Donkey Kong on them.
Right? But that
you said they had daggers, right?
They did.
I have daggers now.
You do. You now have 2. You now, if you want them, have 2 daggers.
I do.
Absolutely. Just do me a favor.
Not so clumsy or random as a thigh bone. What favor am I doing for you?
Make a toughness roll.
A toughness roll. That is D20 plus 4?
Indeed.
That's only a 10.
Cool. You gain an infection. Your hit points will not increase until you go visit a cleric.
No! I'll go find a cleric.
And get your infection gone. And there you go. Right? And now you're set off to go do something else in the city.
Right.
Nick yourself
Find a cleric.
with their rusty, dirty knives, and you get lockjaw.
Yeah. I need a healing spell cast on me.
Hey, that's what some of your starting goals for. Or in this instance,
well, exactly. Here's 2 silver pieces. Do you happen to have a D-tap injection?
Right. Where's the penicillin?
Yeah. Eat this moldy bread, my lord.
Oh God. So that's the Seth, and that's the Mork. Thank you, actually, by the way, for doing that.
Not at all. Not at all. This is a fun, interesting little system. It seems to be fairly lightweight. When I was a younger man, anyone who's in my games, be very careful about what you might put in chat or say right now. But when I was a younger man, this is the kind of pickup game. This would have gone into a pocket game or something like that. And I don't mean that in a negative sense. This is a very lightweight, hey, a bunch of guys can't make it for D&D tonight. What are we going to do? And you could break out something like this. And
in vein of that, there are 2 final things I want to show you, and then I promise I'll shut my yap for a few minutes or answer any questions or what have you.
Yes, I do want any Q&A that's coming out of the audience, please. The man is here. He brought his book, so...
One is just have a scroll through the last few monsters here down the bottom. And then there's one other thing in the book I want to show you, which is at the very, very, very end.
Get bent. Hey, Seth, get bent. Anyway, so you said I'm going to the end of the book for this, right?
Yeah. The bent are there. The rat are there. The Beazle, God, I love the Belzy. Sorry, their take on the Lich is amazing. Their take on the Noon and the Troll. Trolls are scary. Thinks, as my party knows, are gargoyles. Wyverns, they're a little wimpy. I buff them, but they're there. But if you look at the very back of the book, the last couple of pages, literally, and you may wish to, I don't know if you want to share this with the audience again or not.
Yeah, I just sometimes scrolling can do terrible things to stream and so on. So when you say the last, you're talking like 94, 95, 93, 94?
I'm talking, yeah, it should be literally the last 2 pages, almost the last 2 pages of the
So we got a random dungeon generator. This is
exactly.
nice.
That is what I am talking about. Yes, it should state even more reasons to risk one's life. That's what should be in the upper left-hand corner.
Let me see. One of these will make it look nice. There we go. Okay.
Yes. There you go. So for DMs who don't like Gygax's or want an alternative to Gygax's dungeon creation system, and they just want a quick, well, because Gygax, I prefer Gygax's system personally. I do. I want the room size and the crunch and the traps. That's what I need, right, to get my mind going. But for those who just want something creative and just want to throw down some notes on a note card or whatever, this system works pretty well. I've used it. It could use a little more, in my opinion, but it does work. It does work really well. And their website will automatically generate, Mork Borg's website, that is, will automatically generate dungeons and characters for you if you wish. There are buttons for those, but they're just using these tables. So DMs, even if you're not playing Mork Borg, take lessons from this. Also take lessons from the even more reasons to risk one's life section on the page before, because it's just I think it's like 2 D100 charts of just stuff.
Yeah.
And it's fun. Oh, and there is an index in the very back. So there's not a table of contents, but they did give an index, which is why.
Well, I'll give props for a good index then. So
I'll take a good index over a table of contents. There's also for players who want to photocopy it. There's a complete summary of the rules on a single page.
Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. That is very handy. Which page is that? Which is our rules summary page?
Go up one more. That one there.
Right there. Okay. All right. So there you go.
Summary right there. So for
there you go.
For those who have never played before, you print out that page, you hand it to them, you slide it in the front of their binder, and you tell them to sit down and shut up.
Yep. I kind of like this sort of thing, and that's like if you guys, if anyone out there watched when I did the Space Hulk demo many moons ago, I'm going to be doing probably another one for the Guac. All the rules for Space Hulk are on one page, which is strange for GW to have done, but yes, indeed, everything you need to know about Space Hulk is available on a single page. So, so yeah, you've got all you need right here.
And there's just they have since come out with PDFs of expansion material and stuff like that. Like your character now. Awesome. Your character now, because you didn't have a starting class, would now gain some feats, kind of thing, where like you could gain a feat, and you might be able to dual wield without penalty now, whatever that means. So stuff like that, which I think is kind of cool. One of my favorites, I think, is that you can skin someone, wear their skin for like the next hour, and look like them. As I didn't say this was a morally good RPG.
No, I did. It's there's a great many that put on the moral ambiguity socks, as it were. I would have to say, and again, I mean this in a complimentary, not like, oh, this is derivative, but I'm definitely getting a vibe of Shadow of the Demon Lord from it.
Oh yeah,
and indeed, you could probably get away with mixing and matching the two and have a fine old apocalyptic time. I
use this to run basic D&D, frankly.
Interesting stuff. Very, very interesting stuff here. So thank you so much for sharing something that is good and awesome with us. And this is now this is available in print. You say there's a coffee table version.
The print book, it's small. It's only about as big as my head, but it's rail thin. It also, one of the things we did skip over intentionally, so there's an adventure in this book too. It's not just rules. There's an adventure, a whole adventure in this book too.
A good set of rules will have a pack in, yes.
Which I intentionally did not spoil. I have played it. It is brutal. You want at least 3 players, if not 5.
Now, is that what you're running at the con? You're running the
No. I'm not running. I'm running one of my own, which is a killer greenhouse scenario called Attack of the Killer Hibiscus, which is much more fun and like it's like a fun kind of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes kind of game. Then my Tomb of the Weeping Angels is 1,000% Mork Borg. If anybody gets out alive, you genuinely deserve a medal. My players were the highest level you could basically get in Mork Borg when they ran through it the first time, and that was fun for them.
Right on.
So
3 to 5 players, 3 characters each. Cheshire Cat says, "Okay, so
she knows."
Just kind of glancing. Does anyone here have any questions about? I'm gonna move the super chat there. Sorry, that doesn't mean it wasn't a worthy thing, Corian. I do appreciate it. But does anyone have any questions for our wonderful guest this evening? Anyone at all? Feel absolutely free to ask, as I'm sure he'll answer them.
If they don't, I can at least mention 1 or 2 house rules that I've used to make this game even better personally. But
sure. Why don't you go into that? But before, again, absolutely. As I was saying in the wind up to tonight's show, the preamble, the introduction, if you will, I don't know what's going on with YouTube. I don't know why YouTube is screwing with some of my comments. So if you if you watch this and you leave a comment and it doesn't, and you still want to ask the question, just hit us up on Discord. I apologize. It ain't YouTube. It's me. So you got a couple of questions already here. This is from Praxis. How did you come across the game?
Ooh. Also at me in Discord as well if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them. God, what was his name? This is going to bother me now. Bud's RPG review, actually.
Okay.
Bud's RPG review, he did before this came out. He was given a book to review, and that it left such a big impression on me. I backed the game and just fell full in love with it. And as he says, you will either love or hate this game, and he's right.
Interesting. I must be a weirdo because I like it. I don't love it, but I don't hate it, but I like it. So maybe, I guess, probably first, for clarity's sake, we could move that into the love column because I don't want to lend the idea that I don't appreciate this. Next question, Michael Connor, where can we find it?
Their website. I tried getting these off Amazon originally. Don't do that because shipment issues between Sweden, blah blah blah. You're the only place you're going to get these books anymore is the secondary market. Their website is still selling the PDFs though, but if you can get your hands on these, if they are still selling these, do it. It's tactile, it's reverse embossed, it glows in the dark, it's awesome.
That's actually debossed. That is a real term. That is debossed.
I learn something new every day.
There you go. Let's see. Random Internet Hijinks says, does the Eschaton mechanic impede longevity? The games he's tailored to one-offs are really short games.
Yes and no. It is a perfect con game. I will say that. But as far as long-running games, let me speak from personal experience here. I have run campaigns that have lasted 3 months. I have ran campaigns that have lasted 1.5 years with just this book and a handful of notes.
Sure.
You can do it. It just relies on lifting creativity from your mind. You know, the half dozen or the dozen creatures you're given in here aren't going to take you to the moon and back, right? But they do give you this idea of, you can build from them. What does a ogre zombie look like? What does an ogre Belzy look like, right? The answer is, maybe mix a troll and a zombie and see what you get, right?
Sure.
Turn to AD&D, actually. AD&D stats are what I use all the time for Mork Borg stats.
Wonderful. Well, that kind of dovetails nicely into Lord Corion's legitimate question. Will I put the super chat back up? No. But his legitimate question is, what's the favorite thing you've stolen from Mork Borg for D&D? It sounds like there's some cross-pollination that can happen.
Do I spoil this?
That's entirely up to you. I mean,
okay.
I am but the medium through which Mork Borg info flows. So
my own home game, because spoiler alert, my players know this, I don't run D&D anymore, typically. I know sacrilege, I'm sorry, Bill. But the only reason I don't, to be fair, I haven't given D&D another shot yet, but when I stepped away from it, let's say, because I'll go back to it, I created my own system, which was a hybrid of D&D and this, and it really is a hybrid. But I took the tier mechanics, the power mechanics, and gave like 3 levels of spell now. Because as you saw, Raise Dead's really powerful, and I think that should cost more than 1 power. You know what I mean? So I think it costs 3, as an example. Little things like that, right? So in my home game, I play Mork Borg ++, right? Where it's really just like it sits right between what you saw tonight and say AD&D. It's not a rules light RPG like Mork Borg. It's not a rules heavy RPG like AD&D. I prefer that gray zone, and so it's not really. I can't steal any one mechanic, but the first mechanic I stole, if I could take nothing else from the system, would be omens. It really would. The D2 or D4 omens that if you have forgotten something at home in the dungeon and you're like, we really need rope right now. Oh my God, our characters would have had this. We should have brought it. We just spaced out, bam, spend an omen. It's yours. Or, oh God, he just failed his death save. He's going to die. We're all screwed. Bam, spend an omen, re-roll the die. Now, once you re-roll that die, this is not an official Mork Borg rule, but once you re-roll that die, I make you live with it typically. You could, in theory, spend another one to re-roll, yada, yada, yada. But I tend to make you live with it. But I couldn't. If I had to pick just one thing, it would be that. Oh, and I am trying to get that RPG of mine published eventually, by the way. I'm hoping to have you.
Good. When you do that, we're definitely going to have you on to talk about it.
The drafting stage is already done.
Wonderful. So let's see. Luther Pendragon, you told me die, then you're told to burn the book. I ain't down with the book burning, even as a joke. That is offensive to me.
The whole RPG is meant to be offensive.
Well, no, I understand that, but
we found something that got to Bill. Yes.
Oh, there's lots that gets to me, but anyway, let's see. Cheshire Cat says you refuse to touch 3.5 anymore. Well, I don't really care what you're playing. That's a good outcome.
Yes.
Book of the Law, read once and burn it.
I refuse to touch 3.5.
Well, I would just to give that to Aleister Crowley, not burn it. If I was going to bother him,
I played it for over a decade. I'm good. I don't want to go back.
Yeah. We played a lot in the early 2000s when it first came out. That's a lot of people don't think that about me. That when I grouse about 3rd edition and 3.5, they're like, "Oh, well, you won't even." No, I did play it. So when I complain about the D20 system, I have a lot of background in the D20 system.
Levels 1 to 8 are fine, but once you clear that, I'm sorry.
I think my problems run a little bit deeper, but that's for another discussion. And RAH just says it's a spoopy evil game. So that's Mork Borg. I almost did it. That's Mork Borg.
Yep.
For you guys, it is a fascinating little game. Like I said, I think it can be fun to mine for ideas, to be sure. Check it out, guys.
If I can take a second thing, it would be the calendar. The calendar system is great too.
Okay. Let me see here. You know what? Now, this is not an affiliate. I just want to point this out. This is not an affiliate. I don't think, I know Kyle doesn't, and I certainly...
No, these guys don't even know I exist. Well, actually, they do, but it's been probably a year and a half since they've talked to me. This RPG came out in 2020, by the way.
Okay, so it's fairly new. It's that answers a question here. But anyway, if you guys want to pick this up, again, I'm not affiliated with DTRPG. I'm not affiliated with the creators of Mork Borg. Nothing like that. But if you do want to, let's see, there is the link. You can hop over to Drive-Thru and grab yourself a copy. RIH, thank you for the super chat, RIH. He says, if you want to make Mother Svea smile and sound more like a Viking chief than the Swedish chef, use the sweetest pronunciation of Mork Borg. Rhymes with work story.
That's fair.
Okay, fair enough.
Fair.
So go out and buy yourself a copy of Work Story then, guys, and have a lot of fun with it. I'm Bill Sylvie. This is now I'm going to I got to look at the private chat. I got to get my pronunciation. Tan Kyle.
Wow, you still butchered it even more.
I don't care because you will always be Ricky Maru to me. It'll be, and to my lawyers, Tayan Kyle, who I promised to mention in my will. Hello, Ricky Maru 1. I don't understand that. Moving on. Anyway, thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone, for being there tonight. Thank you to the folks who did the super chats. And I always want to do this before we go. I want to thank everybody, of course, who supports the show on various sites. That's Joshua Garlock, Lord Corion, Mobius, Kevin Reynolds, Doomsword Deathmaster, Mark Simpson, Damien 247, James F. Keck, and everybody at the observatory out in Hawaii. Thank you for taking your time to support the show. William Smith, the Dungeon Minister. I hope you're still here, Padre, and maybe throwing holy water at your computer now. Manny Wall, Mark Corey, Kevin Wood, Todd Sharp, the ever-frighteningly named Carnivore Farmer. Rob can't say that or I'll get demonetized, you list. Jeremy Roll, Bo Ganora, Mikey Mank, and Sky Hernstrom, who, guess what, kids? Sky will be here next Thursday. I have been in contact with him via email. And I do, again, I'm only pointing this out because Subscribestar will not tell you this until or unless I get 5 subscribers on Subscribestar. You aren't auto-deaded on Subscribestar. You will have to go in and renew your subscription to. It's dumb, I know, and I'm sorry for sounding like, give me some money. But trust me, it's better than the alternative of it tripping you up financially. So just so everyone knows that. But thank you all to everyone for all the super chats tonight and the fun. And thank you. Thank you very much for being here. And when you get that RPG done, or if you have some light bulb revelation about Work Story, you know how to get a hold of me, and we'll have you back on the show. All right. Thank you, everybody, for a great evening, and we'll catch you next time. Peace out.